The next mini box got announced for Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links through the leaks from the recent update. The next box is going to be called Energy of Gigarays. This box is absolutely insane. We have insane support for Gandora, Qliphorts are coming into the game, Amazon support, and more. If you guys are excited for today's video, make sure to leave a like on today's video down below and sub to the channel for more content. Without further ado, let's get into my review. So first card we're going to talk about right here is Gandora Gigarays, the Dragon of Destruction. And bro, I might be replacing my boy Levianeer in the Lightsworn deck with this card, because this card is insane. It's a Dark Level 8 Dragon Effect monster. This card states, cannot be normal summon / set, must be first special summon from your hand by sending 2 other monsters from your hand and or field to the graveyard. This card gains 3000 attack for each banished card. Once per turn, you can pay half your life point, apply this effect depending on the number of Gandora monsters with different names in your graveyard. So this card right here is absolutely insane. Now, if you play this in kind of like a pure like Gandora build that rocks the normal Gandora and the other one you can get from leveling up DSOD Yugi Moto, you're going to be able to play these effects depending on how many of them in your graveyard. So if you're playing just this card by itself, like 3 copies of this card and like a Lightsworn engine, you're only going to be using this card to destroy all other cards in the field. My idea is that you're playing your Lightsworn engine, you're playing Charge, and you're playing Solar Recharge to draw and thin out cards from your deck. One of your Gandoras is in the graveyard. You summon your Gandora Dragon Destruction from your hand, use its first effect, destroy all other cards in the field, because you only have one Gigarays Gandora in the graveyard. That's like the most I'm going to see this card see in play. Most people are just going to play 3 copy of a Gandora Gigarays, and it's just going to play to destroy all other cards in the field. Now, if you are a pure Gandora player and you're playing Gigarays and you're playing the other Gandoras, you're going to be able to potentially have the opportunity to banish all other cards in the field, or banish all their cards in the field and in graveyards. But still, I think the most this card's going to see play is just being a nuke by just sending 2 other monsters from your hand or field to the graveyard, and then you're hopefully will have your other Gandora in your graveyard to be able to just nuke the whole field. Other than that, though, I'm excited to try out this card on stream. I think I am going to try to get 3 copies of this card, because I have not invested in a mini box in a very long time, so I might try out this cheese on stream, so be sure to go stay tuned to the channel for that. But let's move on to the next card. Next card we're gonna take a look at is Apoqliphort Skybase. Like, I don't know how you really pronounce this guy, but it's a Qliphort card, a UR boss monster for the deck. It cannot be special summon and requires 3 Quill tributes to normal summon / set. If this card is normal summon / set, it's unaffected by spell and traps that are activated by the effects of any monster whose original level and rank is lower than this card's current level. Once per turn, you can target 1 monster opponent controls and take control of it to the end phase. All right, then. So this card is basically just no you. I can kind of see why Qliphorts were pretty toxic in the TCG from just this card alone. Now, I'm very curious to see how easy it is going to go into getting out this card in a starting hand of 4 cards in Duel Links. But like, bro, if you get your Qliphorts, you summon 3 Qliphorts on your side of the field, and you just sack all of them off, you get a card that is just immune to pretty much everything. And on top of that too, if you're playing this while your opponent has a monster in the field, you just yoink their monster until the end phase and then OTK, which is actually kind of crazy. And considering that this is a level 9, it's going to be really hard to find any monsters that are going to be able to counter this card. Like, I don't even know how you counter this card. I think this card's on the board. It's just GG well played. Yeah, let me know in the comment section down below on what would counter this card. I'm hoping that you can, like, on summon, you can play stuff like Floodgate to kind of counteract this card. But if you can't, yeah, once your opponent gets this card on the board, it's GG well played. I think the only thing that's going to stop this deck from being able to be really good is the fact that I think it is going to take a lot of time to get into Skybase, but once you get into Skybase, your opponent basically just has to surrender. I don't think there's any ways to really play around it. But again, let me know in the comment section down below of some good cards that could counter this card for sure. And then the last UR card we're gonna take a look at is Cursed Necrofear. This is a Dark Level 8 Fiend Effect monster. Cannot be normal summon / set, must be special summoned by a card effect. You can target 3 of your banished Fiend monsters, special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, shuffle those banished monsters into the deck. During the end phase, if this card is in the graveyard because it was destroyed in your monster zone by an opponent's card and sent there this turn, special summon this card from your graveyard. Then you can destroy cards that your opponent controls up to the number of face-up spell and trap cards you control with different names. You can use each effect of Cursed Necrofear once per turn. This card has 2800 attack and 2200 defense. So really cool to see we have an upgrade of Necrofear here. And this card is kind of a cute card. So if you have already banished Fiend monsters, you get to summon this card for free. And if your opponent destroys this card in battle or by card effect during the end phase of the turn this card was sent there, you can bring Necrofear back into the field, so it's kind of like a floaty card, and then you're going to be able to punish your opponent by popping cards they control, as long as you have different spell and trap cards you control with different names on the field. So it's kind of a cool little cheese card. And on top of that too, if you play other cards that can special summon Dark Fiend monsters, you're going to be able to trigger this card earlier, because its activation requirement of getting 3 banished Fiend monsters little bit like annoying to get into. So being able to cheese it out with other card effect is going to be the preferred way to get into Necrofear here. And again, it's just a nice little 2800 beat stick that has a little bit of floatability. The only thing that sucks about the floatability though is that during the end phase, it's only when it triggers. So I think this is a good card, but I feel like in some ways it's a little slow. So we'll wait and see if this card's any good. Hopefully you can combo it with some skills from Bakura and whatnot, and then you can get this card going. Because if you play it with some skills, I think this card will be pretty toxic. Moving on to SR cards now, we're going to take a look at Psychic Megacyber. This is a dark level 6 machine effect monster. If your opponent controls more spell and trap cards than you do, you can special summon this card from your hand. You only can special summon this card once per turn this way. When this card declares an attack on an opponent's effect monster while you control Jinzo, you can tribute this card. Place that opponent's monster face up in their spell and trap card zone as a continuous trap. You only can use this effect with Psychic Megacyber once per turn. This card has 2200 attack and 1200 defense. So this card is really cool because it's a fantastic level 6 card to be able to go into the Jinzo Xyz monster we'll talk about here shortly. So it's fun support for that, and its main priority is going to be into Xyz summoning into that Jinzo monster. But still, its effect while you have a Jinzo and you swing with this card, being able to yoink your opponent's monster to the face-up spell and trap card zone as a continue trap is actually kind of nice because of the fact that this effect is a non-targetable effect. So that means that you're going to be able to play around certain interactions against your opponent, which is really, really handy. And on top of that too, it turns it to a trap card, and if you already have a Jinzo on your side of the field, that's how you're able to trigger this card. That monster is not going to be able to trigger any attacks because Jinzo just stops any trap effects. So even if you yoink your opponent's monster from the monster zone to the spell and trap card zone, they're not going to be able to respond with that monster. So this is a really good card. And we might as well talk about the Jinzo Xyz monster, considering that card is support to go into this card right here. So Jinzo Layered is a rank 6 Xyz monster. It's a machine monster that states you can detach one material from this card, target a face of monster opponent controls, and take control of it until the end phase, but it cannot activate effects nor declare an attack. If a Traps is on the field, you contribute one monster, and if you do destroy one face-up card on the field, you only can use each effect of Jinzo Layered once per turn. This card has 2400 attack and 1500 defense. Now, I don't really know how I feel about this because you're gonna take multiple resources to upgrade into this Jinzo card, only for it to not negate trap cards anymore. I don't know how I feel about that. Other than that, though, being able to yoink your opponent's monster is really handy, but the thing that sucks is that you can't swing with it, so I don't like that. On the bright side, though, that monster that you do yoink it with, as long as your opponent has a trap card on the field, you can sack off that monster and then destroy a face-up card on the field. So you're going to be able to yoink your opponent's monster, use that monster as a resource to then pop another face-up card on the field. So I do like that part of Jinzo Layered, but I don't like the fact that it does not negate traps like the other cards do. I don't like that. Next card we're going to take a look at is Qliphort Carrier, a level 6 Earth Machine Pendulum Effect monster. Pendulum Effect cannot special summon monsters except Qli monsters. This effect cannot be negated, and all Qli monsters you control gain 300 attack. Now, its monster effect states you can normal summon this card without tributing. If this card is normal summoned without tributing or special summon, its level becomes 4 and its original attack becomes 1800. If this card is normal summon / set, it is unaffected by activated effects from any monster whose original level and rank is lower than this card's current level. If this card is tributed, you can target a monster on the field and return it to the hand. Pretty decent card right here. It's a little scale 1, which is going to be helpful for going into Pendulum summons. And I kind of like the idea of these guys being level 4 when you do cheese this card out by normal summon it without tributing or special summon, because that opens up the rank 4 toolbox for Qliphorts here. So that is something to keep in mind too. And also it's unaffected by activated effects of any monsters whose level or rank is lower than this card's current level. So even at 4, it's going to be able to ignore 1, 2, and 3 monster effects. Only boss monsters are going to be able to kind of counter this. So I can see why Qliphorts are a little toxic, that's for sure. Next up, we have Qliphort Scout, and I think the only thing that this guy has going for it is that it's just a scaled 9, and that is it. It has the same effect. You cannot special summon monsters, so Qi monsters, and this effect can't be negated. And then once per turn, you can pay 800 life points, add a Qi card from your deck to your hand. So this guy actually has a bonus effect too. So it's a scale 9, and on top of that too, you're going to be able to search for another Qliphort card, which is awesome, or Qliphort card. That is sick. And then it's flavor text, booting in replica mode. An error has occurred while executing C. Sophia Sephra.exe. Unknown publisher. Allow C. Terra Qliphort.exe. Yes. No. Yes. Booting in autonomy mode. Yeah, I like that. It's kind of cool lore. I like that. And that is actually kind of it for those Qliphorts right there. Interesting though, but they do have a lot of rare monsters, which is fun. Yeah, and looking at some of the lower tiered Qliphort cards, one of them that does kind of stand out to me is Disc right here, because if you tribute summon this card by tributing Qli monsters, you can special summon 2 from your deck but destroy them during your end phase. So that might be one of your ways you're going to be able to cheese out into Skybase. The only problem is though is that you have to tribute in order to summon it to this card. There's also an equip spell right here too that you can equip to a Qli monster and make that card as treated for 2 tributes for a Qliphort monster, which is also interesting. And there's also a field spell in this deck that you can do an additional normal summon with a Qli monster additionally to your normal summon slash set. So there's definitely a lot of pieces that cheese out into this card. But I think the way to counter this deck is I think Skybase is nearly impossible to counter, but being able to counter the monsters that they're summoning in the first place to try to get into Skybase is going to be the way to counter the deck. And I don't know what I'm talking about, bro. I'm just here to hang out. But anyways, moving on to the next SR card, we're gonna take a look at Diabound Kernel, a dark level 5 fiend effect monster. When a card declares an attack, it gains 600 attack, and then its quick effect states you can target a face of monster opponent controls. It loses attack equal to this card's current attack until the end of the turn. Then banish this card until the next standby phase of the next turn. So you only can use this card's effect once per turn. So yeah, this is just a cheese card. It's a 1 tribute that you can be able to get over a lot of the monsters in the game, because again, it gains 600 attack when it declares an attack, and on top of that too, you can target a face of monster opponent controls and it loses attack equal to this card's current attack. So it's kind of like a built-in Ryoku, which is cool. They're gonna be able to get around certain boss monsters as long as they don't negate you from attacking, so it's a decent card. Apparently I have Gravekeeper support. I'll take it. SR card, Commandant, spellcaster with the effect. You can discard this card to the graveyard and add Necro Valley from deck to your hand, which is very huge for Gravekeepers and going to be huge in general for decks that want to tech in Necro Valley. Thank God this card is not a light or dark monster, or else this would just be toxic, because you can like discard this card, search for Necro Valley, and then use that as like material for something else. I don't know why I'm thinking that, but I am. I don't know. I just love light and dark decks. It's one of my favorite decks in the game. But yeah, being able to filter this card to the graveyard is fantastic to search for Necro Valley, and being able to search for Necro Valley is going to give you your additional effects with your Gravekeeper cards. And on top of that too, if you just need a search for your Necro Valleys anyways, in a deck that doesn't primarily use Gravekeepers, this is just a great terraforming to get into Necro Valley. So it's a good card. I can see this card scene play. Next up, we have Spirit Reaper, a classic card that is super toxic. It's a dark level 3 zombie effect monster, cannot be destroyed by battle. After resolving a card effect that targets this face-up card, destroy this card. When this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent by a direct attack, discard 1 random card from their hand. Attack has 300 attack and 200 defense. A classic Yu-Gi-Oh card that I don't think we'll see that much play, because there's going to be a lot of ways to play around this card, but hey, a little guy that cannot get destroyed by battle, pretty good. I can see this teched into PKs, honestly. Little dark level 3 zombie monster, who knows? But yeah, fun little card. Classic card that was just toxic in the early 2000s of Yu-Gi-Oh, but I could see it in Duel Links. It will cause no harm. Not a big fan of this deck getting more support, but Amazoness did get some more support here. All Amazoness monsters gain 200 attack once per turn when Amazoness monsters destroy a battle or card effect and sent to the graveyard. You can special summon 1 Amazoness monster from your deck with a level then less than or equal to Amazoness monster in the graveyard. It is a field spell, and oh my goodness, I already hate dealing and trying to get through Princess with Amazoness Onslaught, and then on top of the fact that you have floatability now too. Oh brother, I'm not a fan of that. So pretty solid card. We'll see if the deck does play this. I think they might tech in 1 or 2 copies of it into the deck to just again have that floatability. Having that floatability is huge for the longer parts of the duel, and thinning out your deck's gonna be able to help you draw into those more valuable cards. And Amazonesses love to special summon themselves from the graveyard anyway, so I'd say this is a pretty solid card. We'll see if it does see play in the deck, but I do not think this card alone is going to make Amazoness meta again, but it's definitely going to make it a little more annoying than it was before, that is for sure. We have a Pot card for Pendulums, which is interesting right here. Pot of Riches. You can shuffle 3 Pendulum monsters into the deck from your graveyard and or face up from your extra deck to then draw 2 cards. You only can activate 1 Pot of Riches per turn, and you cannot special summon the turn you activate this card except by Pendulum Summon. So again, it is a little draw 2 that is like, it's like a Pot of Avarice, but you know, for Pendulums, and you're going to be able to draw a couple cards. And you can still Pendulum Summon later too, so it's a pretty solid card for a deck that really just goes through its Pendulum Summoning like no others. So I see why this is an SR card, going to be a very fantastic card for late game duels, and yeah, there you go. And then last SR card we're going to take a look at in today's video, it's going to be Echo. I cannot even say that, like Oscillation? I don't know. This is a continuous trap card though that states you can target 1 card in your Pendulum Zone, destroy it, then draw a card. You only can use this effect of this card once per turn. There you go, solid little draw card. The only thing that sucks though is that it is a trap card, so it takes forever to use it. But there you go. You get the draw card by popping a card in your Pendulum Zone. This card's going to mostly be good though for being able to trigger Pendulum effects, because there's certain Pendulum cards in the game that when they're face up in your Pendulum Zone, if you pop them, you're going to be able to do like a search or destroy card of the field, etc. So that's what this card is going to be good for. Other than that though, for its effect alone, it's a lame effect. It's just only good in decks that like to get destroyed and sent to the graveyard and so on and so forth, or sent back to the extra deck. So there you go. That's why it's an SR card. But yeah, that's going to do it for today's Duel Links video. Hope you guys did enjoy today's quick review on all of these cards. Let me know in the comment section down below if you guys did enjoy today's video and if you want to see some more Duel Links content. Other than that, it's going to do it for me. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios, everybody, and have a good one.